Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar that will give you first-hand information on the first of its kind double executive MBA and how the program will support you in your career, the finance journey, bridging theory and practice. My name is Martina, and I'm glad to be here on behalf of the Access team. And please welcome our panelists today, Wes Saber, who is a CFO of Haribo, Dr. Lei Zhao, who is a professor of finance and CFA charter holder, and Annie Filipova, she will be our moderator today, and she will give you more details about the program and her experience. I would like to remind you that you will be able to send your questions during the entire session by typing them in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and our speakers will take time to give you an answer at the end of this session. I'm giving the floor to Annie right now. She will give you more details about the program.
Thank you, Martina, very much for organizing this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Let me first start with introducing myself, so we know why I'm here and who am I. So my name is Annie Filipova, and I'm not an educator by profession. I used to be a banker. So I spent 25 years in banking, 21 years of this in Citibank, and I've been working in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. So my last position was Chief Operating Officer for Asia, one of the largest products of Citibank transactional business. And I was managing 16 Asian countries, 2 of them India and China. So it was a very, very interesting and exciting job. But 2 years ago, I decided that it's time to change, time to do something different. And I left my banking career and started to develop a portfolio career, as I call it, which is different sources of income. And you are the boss of yourself. One of these streams, I always wanted to start something with education. I felt that knowing so much in terms of my experience and in all the places I used to live, it's very important that I help other people find their career path and return back to my alma mater and to students in Bulgaria in general. So sitting one day on LinkedIn, I received a message from the dean of the business school, Balaji Rajagopalan, and this is how we started talking. Then the first MBA program came to Greece. Actually, the class which was graduated in NIU in US was coming to Greece for a business visit. I spoke to them, and then we continued the discussion. And from one to another, we started thinking, is there a possibility to offer absolutely American education, American executive education in Eastern Europe? When I was young and at an age where it was the time to take an MBA, I didn't have this opportunity, and I thought it would be great to have this setup in Eastern Europe. And we started in Bulgaria. We started working with the University of National and World Economy, which is my alma mater. And this is how we accredited this program in Bulgaria last summer. So the Executive MBA program is not a new one. It is new for Bulgaria, but it's a program that's already 26 years taught in the US. And what we're doing is really lifting, shifting, and moving to Bulgaria. And the mode of operation is that the American faculty is going to travel every month to Bulgaria and deliver lectures. And the rest of the time, there will be online classes. So the program is 12 months. Each month we'll have a different subject. And today's webinar is to give you a little bit more information and just a little bit of experience of how and what you would study if you enroll for this program. That's why the two panelists today, the two participants in the webinar, are Professor Wei Zhu, who is teaching financial management, and Wes Saber, who is the CFO of Haribo. I believe everybody knows Haribo. There is no way you don't know it. My kids are very big fans of this company. So in the course of this discussion, first I'm going to talk to Professor Zhu, and he's going to walk you through all the details of what he's going to teach and what you're going to learn, what kind of exercises you're going to have, what type of cases you're going to review and learn from. And then we'll get the valuable feedback from somebody who has graduated from NIU, it's alumni, of how the completing an MBA have impacted his career positively. So with that, I am going to now give the floor to Professor Zhu to introduce himself first, and then talk about the objectives of the financial management course. Professor Zhu, over to you.
Thanks, Annie. Appreciate your introduction. As you folks can tell from my last name, I come from China. And I came to the United States in 1993, first doing my own MBA, and then did a master's degree in economics, and finally did my PhD in finance. And I started to teach finance in 2002. So I have been living in this country for 30 years, and have been teaching finance for the last 20-some years. So you guys can guess my age, okay? I'm pretty old. And in Chinese culture, old age is regarded very highly, and gray hairs are treated as a symbol of wisdom and experience. Now, in the US, it's different. In the US, everybody looked up younger folks as young, energetic, and knows everything, versus a gray hair is a sign of out-of-datedness or stuff like that. So that's why I decided to cut off my old gray hairs yesterday, so that I can look a little bit younger and more energetic. But I don't know how Bulgarian guys, you guys treat old age, but if you think gray hair is a symbol of wisdom and experience, I do have a whole lot of gray hair. So as I said, I have been teaching finance for the last 20-some years. And every time I go to a party and be introduced as a finance professor, I always get folks ask me a question as to, should I get into the stock market? Should I buy Tesla, or should I buy Apple stocks? Or what do you think about Bitcoins? So what I sense is that most of the folks, when they think about finance, they always think about finance from the perspective of providers of funds, or think about finance as the same as investment, right? So I'm in my 50s, I'm going to retire in 20 years' time. I need to invest my extra money so that I can live a comfortable retirement, right? So I need to increase my wealth. I need to decide where I'm going to put my money, whether in the stock market, bond market, or should I put my money in the bank, stuff like that. That's great. That's one part of finance we call investment. But a lot of times, a good investor should also think about another extremely important question. Rather than just what asset I should invest in, what stocks I'd invest in, a good investor need to think about, what the other guy's going to use my money for? How the company going to use my money? This is what my class is all about. We are going to looking at finance from a different angle, from the perspective of Mr. Saber, from the perspective of company CEO and CFO. When they get their money from investors, whether it's stocks, whether it's a bond, or whether they borrow money from banks, when they have all those money, what they are going to do with the money. Now, of course, if you're working for a company like Haribo, where it has a lot of growth opportunities, there's a lot of different options, right? You can introduce a new product line, okay? You can use the money to expand into a new geographic area, Or you can even think about expand into different different industry, or use the money to buy another company. There's many different promising opportunities. So I'm a company CEO, CFO, all right? I have 20 very promising projects to invest in. Which one should I pick? I only have enough money to pick 10 of them, right? Which out of 10 projects, out of the 20, should I choose? Now, if you ask the marketing guy in your department, he will say, wow, gee, I'm going to pick a project that increase my market share, right? That will increase my sales. If you talk to the chief operating officer, he will say, wow, I'm going to pick up the project that creates most synergies, okay, of this new product with my existing operations. And if you talk to the chief strategist of your company, he will choose a project that increases competitive advantage of the company. But in our class, we are going to put you in the shoes of company CEO and CFO and evaluate project from its financial perspective. Right? What do you mean by financial perspective? Well, what I mean is that we're going to look at each of those projects, all right? We're going to ask how much value of those projects going to create for my shareholders. Because no matter how wonderful project is, at the end of the day, we're all working for our shareholders. Our job is to increase the value for our shareholders. So that is overall objective of my class. We are going to evaluate potential investment project from the CEO, CFO's perspective as to how much value those projects are going to create for my shareholders. Okay. Now, be very careful. A project that is profitable, it's not the same as a project that creates value for my shareholders. I can have a project that looks very profitable, but it's still not a good project. Okay, for example, very quickly, I know I have the habit of talking too much, but give you a very quick example. Suppose that I get $100 from my shareholders and I invest in a project. A year later, I come back with $105. Going back to my shareholders, I say, hey, here we go. Your $105, right? It's a very profitable project. I make $5 for my shareholders. I make 5% rate of return. Is that a good project? Did I create value for my shareholders? Well, not necessarily. The shareholder could say, hey, look, if I put my $100 in the bank, banks give me 5% interest rate. What you're doing here? I could have just put my money in the bank, maybe earning 6% interest rate, right? I could have earned $6. You gave me $5 profit. You're destroying value for me. So it's not the same thing as having a profitable project. Profit project may not be a good project. So again, I'm sorry, this is like an overarching objective of this class. Okay, now of course, we're also going to talk a little bit about investment, asset valuation, riskiness, stuff like that. So, but overall, this is what this class is all about.
Great. You started in such an interesting way. When are you in Bulgaria? Which month are you? I think you're February
or March. Okay. After
I will definitely be there.
Class, yeah. So this class, as I said a little bit earlier, this class requires a good understanding of accounting, right? So the class was started with financial analysis, analyze a financial statement. So the class will be immediately after a class in accounting, so that we have a solid foundation to work from.
Okay, great. And can you tell us, you will have 1 month for your course. How is the 1 month organized?
Very good question. So my vision for the class will be composed of 3 components, right? So we will have the online component, and then we will have a weekend coming to do the face-to-face, okay, the student. For the online component, I will divide them into 2 parts of the work, okay? Asynchronous and synchronous component. Now, the asynchronous component will cover the basics of the class, okay? Technical details, because not everybody is on the same page, right? And some of them have more experience with finance. Some of you guys may have no background in finance at all. So the asynchronous session, okay, will cover the basics, and it will be in the form of recorded lectures. And the nice thing about those recorded lectures is that you can skim them through. If you have a lot of background, you know the basics, you don't have to watch the whole 2 hours of the videos. But if you don't have a whole lot of background, you can watch those videos and rewind it and watch them on your paces, on your own paces. Okay, so that is an asynchronous session where it covers basics, and then the synchronous sessions will be the case. I want to have a lot of class interactions. I want folks come to the class after watch the record lecture and first ask questions, right? Yeah, sure. You can watch them many times and still there'll be something you don't understand. So synchronous session will be the case where we're going to get together. Student can ask questions, and I'm going to ask questions as well, maybe doing some review questions and more advanced questions. Then also on the synchronous sessions, I will do something called what I call the mini cases. Those will be the case studies that either I wrote myself or some easier, relative straightforward cases. We're going to discuss those cases in the class. We're going to work through those cases in class and give a student a little bit idea of how to approach cases, right? Then outside that, I will assign full cases. Okay, those are much more elaborate cases where we're going to put everything together, what different topics and the different moving parts are put everything together. Those will be the part where I think students going to spend a lot of time outside the classroom, work through the case, maybe in a team, maybe in a group of 2 or 3 people together, work together. And then during our face-to-face the weekend in Bulgaria, we're going to spend more time talking about those complex cases together in a class. And then I'll give students more time to complete those cases. And afterwards, or have the synchronous sessions where the student going to present their findings on the cases, and then have a more discussion of the cases. So that's kind of like my kind of like a vision how the class is going to be structured. I hope.
Great. No, absolutely. That's totally answered my question. So, you know, when I meet with students, prospective students in the several events I had in Bulgaria, there is one question they all ask. They ask, well, I have never done financial statements. Will I be required to do it or learn to do it? So what is your answer to that?
That's a fantastic question, Annie. This is exactly going back to my earlier point, is that this class will follow immediately an accounting class. So the accounting class will give you the basic background of what the accounting is about, what the financial statement looks like, etc. And my class will first start with maybe a lecture or 2 on financial statement and financial statement analysis. Now, this is important, but this is not all this class is about. We are going to do some accounting analysis. We're going to do some financial statement analysis. It's just do a foundation of the class. But this class is much more than accounting. This is not accounting class. I always tell my students, accounting is important, but don't mislead by accounting. Accounting is backward looking. They look at what happened to the past. Finance is forward looking. We are going to look at what's going to happen in the future. It's all about future, not about the past. Yes, accounting is important. If you have a solid foundation in accounting, in financial understanding of financial statement, that's fantastic. If you don't, we're going to work through some of the basic accounting stuffs, but at the end of the day, it's not going to determine if you're going to be successful in this class or not. It is helpful, but it's not all this class is all about.
Okay, that's perfect. You mentioned that you have a number of case studies. Can you just give us several examples of what these case studies are, what companies, and a little bit more so people can get an idea of what is going to be discussed?
Sure, sure. As I said, I have two set of cases. One set are what I will call the mini cases. Some of them that I wrote myself that focus on one particular topic. For example, there's one case I wrote mini case. I set up situation where a consumer decided whether he's going to buy a new Tesla or buy Audi, right? Or a conventional internal combustion cost. Well, one of the things you have to decide is that, hey, Tesla is more expensive, okay? But in the long run, Tesla is going to be a lot cheaper to operate, right? You don't have a whole lot of, you don't have to pay for the gases, and maintenance cost is low. But the traditional internal combustion costs are a little bit cheaper to buy initially, but over the long run, it's going to be more expensive to operate. So the case study is going to look at those two choices, look at from the perspective of what I call time value of money, and look at which one is a better choice. So those are what I call the mini cases, where we focus on one a small topic, and so that we can work it out during the classes. Then we also have full-blown, very more complex cases where we're going to put many different topics together. For example, we're going to looking at, well, at least right now, I'm thinking about looking at Walmart, okay? Looking at the several different projects Walmart's going to be thinking about. And we're going to first starting looking at those projects and estimate the cash flows for all those different projects. And then we're going to estimate what are the cost of capital for Walmart, looking at what are the source of the capital Walmart uses. It has debt, it has equity, it has bank loans, and we're going to look at how costly those capitals are for Walmart, and then eventually using those cost of capital to evaluate those different projects to calculate what we call the net present value or shareholder value. Okay, how much shareholder value we're creating from those different projects, and then make our decisions. And then, of course, we're going to look at how well our estimations are. We're going to do sensitivity analysis of different project analysis, and eventually going to come up with a decision. So those are the projects that incorporate a lot of different topics and putting everything together. Those are the case studies where it's probably going to take quite a long time for work out, and for probably need to have 2 or 3 people work together on the case study. And I would require the student to present those cases in the class as well. So those are one of the examples of case studies I'm thinking about using. So we're probably going to looking at 4 or 5 case studies, okay, over the whole semester. Those are what we call the full-blown case studies. Then another 4 or 5 what we call the mini cases that I will do in classes. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, absolutely. By the way, did you teach Wes Zaber for when he was?
No, I don't have the opportunity to have a case that we're working with Mr. Zaber. Yeah.
No problem. I just wanted to know. So that was great rundown of what exactly you're going to teach. So if you have to summarize after the course, what are the students going to know and to be equipped with? What are the key qualities, knowledge, and experience?
It will should prepare you well to be a corporate CFO. It should prepare you well to step into Ms. Zaber's shoes, okay? Or maybe take Ms. Zaber's job someday. I'm sorry, Miss. I'm not training your competitors here, but not everybody going to be a CFO. The things you're going to learn from this class can also help you to make Monday decisions, okay? Like even if you're not CFO, let's say you're a divisional manager, you're faced with a question of replacing an old machine, right? You have a different options, okay, of replacing an older machine. Should I choose this particular machine, maybe more expensive, okay, today, but cheaper to run over time? Too cheap to operate over time, versus another brand of a machine may be a lot cheaper today to buy, invest, but it requires more labor, requires more maintenance, etc. So the course is going to help you to make better financial decisions, okay? As a CFO, as a divisional managers, and maybe even as a consumers, even as an investor yourself. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about investment. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Yes, this class is a lot about corporate finance, making big decisions for companies, but we do talk a little bit about investment, asset valuations, and diversification, stuff like that. Now, is that class going to make you Warren Buffett? No, hell no, it's not. It's not. Okay. If this guy's going to make a Warren Buffett, and you're going to probably triple the tuitions for the students. Okay. But hopefully the class will make you a smarter investors, less likely they're going to fall into pitfalls of investing on money. So that's kind of like overall outcome of the class, I hope.
Great. Thank you so much. And we'll expect to see you in February, and I'll definitely drop by to listen in about these interesting case studies. There is always something to learn.
Well, thank you.
No matter what position you are in the world of corporate. Okay, so thank you very much, Professor Zhu. Now let's go to Wes Zeiberg. Hello and welcome. I'm really happy to welcome you at this webinar. You know, the first brochure I got from NIU, you were on the top of the brochure. So I was saying, oh, who is that? And I'd say, oh, this is Haribo's CFO. So if I knew that I'm going to talk to you like this, only 1 year after I saw that, it's just an interesting fact. Can I first ask you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your career, where you started, and about your journey, just general for the participants to learn about you.
Thank you, Adi, and thank you, Professor Daho. Good morning, everybody from Chicago, and good afternoon at your location towards the end of the day. Very excited and humbled to be with you today. I fully understand where everybody's mind is today, because I was there at that moment, making a choice what to do and how to do it, where to do it, what's an MBA means. Whether you're a finance professional or a marketing professional, we all have career aspiration. We all aspire to sharpen our skills, build our leadership style, build confidence sometimes, have the MBA in our resume, be open for the next best opportunity, of course, earn more money, ensure we're successful. I mean, like, I've been there, and believe it or not, it's going to be about choices, and choices will never end. Actually, the more successful you become, you'll have even more choices. So it's a journey. So hopefully we keep the discussion interactive as much as you can. So if I can be able to help answer questions, I will. But as a quick introduction, Wes Zeiberg, been in the consumer goods industry most of my career. I started in Mars and Wrigley. So I've been in confection most of my life, and now Haribo 8 years. So when I was at the MBA, I was working with M&Ms and Snickers, and now working with Haribo. So that helped me to be popular as a father first, and as a neighbor, and as a professional too. So that works very well. So one advice is you need to love your job, and you love what you do, and you love what you study. Really, it's really, and if you don't have the passion and the energy, it won't take you far. So these are choices to make as well, as you start a journey with your MBA. I am a board member of 6 other organizations, actually, and very active in the community, proud to be a Husky. I have done executive education in Harvard as well, and Chicago, both top companies. And I made a choice to be in NIU for my own program. And if the time goes back, I'll always do that. And happy you will answer why I would answer that. So one of our professors looked at us in the class when we joined the MBA, and he said, look around you and look next to you, and you may see your future boss in the room. of course, and we looked at each other, said like, hell no, that's not gonna happen, right? Out of our 25 members of the class, I can assure you that 19 of them has worked together after that. You will not believe the power of being in an MBA class, other than just the academic and the study and the case study, which is super important for sure. The network and the network is not only in the class, it's actually in the class, after the class, and forever. And that's why I'm with you today, not to feel good about myself. Of course, I feel good myself if I add value, and you should. But by how being in an MBA class is being helpful to me personally and to my colleagues and who are my friends now. And I had 7 people in my classrooms. Not all of them work with me today, but 2 of them are CFOs as well. And some of them are not in the same industry. Some of them are CHROs, some of them are CMOs in marketing, some of them actually change career. And we connect. Some of us live in different countries, different cities, different industries, but we build on each other. We pick up the phone. You have always somebody to pick up the phone and call. I'm in touch with the faculty of NIU. Don't underestimate that. Calling your professor and network and the people who's been with you on that journey and say, hey, I have a question. Can I get help? And it works the other way around as well. So that's a very, very valuable part of the MBA. And the second thing is, when I was at Mars, we have a brand, I hope you know, which is Snickers. I was not good in writing. I always give a paper and I receive it like back red. It was very red. I was not so good. And one day in the marketing class, I wanted to write on building a brand. And I said, like, and by the way, I started my career in marketing. So if somebody thinks, I was so proud. And I said, that's my moment to not to get the red and brag about what we've done at Mars. I mean, like, done that in 20 countries. On that paper, I got the most red I ever got. So I have to say, I didn't feel good about it. I went to my professor and I said, like, what didn't you like? This is what we've done. We deliver hundreds of millions of dollars of this. And it was the aha moment. We all work on our industry, in our job, and we learn in our profession. And you heard Annie talk about her regional experience in financial services, but being in a class with people in different industry give you a perspective that's priceless and open the discussion for what else in the world I need to think about and learn. It's not only what I know and what I learned, which is good, by the way, and other people learn from that. So this is so powerful. And so the case studies give you the opportunity and the environment and the structure. And I enjoyed that in NIU very much. The dynamics, the collaboration, the experiential learning that comes into it. It was really priceless to say there is different ways of doing this. Yesterday, we opened our $420 million new facility in North America, which is runs by AI and full automation. Tomorrow, I'm in Texas speaking about AI. I didn't learn AI. I didn't have it in my MBA class, but I learned the skill of how to touch academics, how to network and use experience around me, and think about different application of knowledge. That's what you learn in MBA class more than anything else from my perspective. It may be right or wrong, but whatever you're going to do that in a year or 2 years or 1.5 years, it's a lifetime experience. It's a lifetime experience. So I want to leave it at this so we can have more time for questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So my next question is around what was you spoke about the network and how it connects you with a lot of people and you still remain connected, etc. But what was professionally, how did the MBA impacted your career trajectory? What did it do for you?
Sure. So like I said, I started my career in marketing. I was a brand manager for Pizza Hut and TGI Fridays specifically. And when I joined Mars, I was part of the innovation team. You heard Dr. Zhao talking about accounting and finance. My bachelor degree was in accounting. but my career was in marketing. And I always wanted to be an executive. So going into the MBA, it gave me one more opportunity other than my undergraduates to go back to class, have more read about supply chain, learn about HR and how different functions connects and how executive would do that. And being in the MBA class as well, I have passion for certain topics, specifically the legal class, for example, which for me was fantastic because I didn't just learn about law, but learned about compliance and learned about contractual agreements. And as I grew in my career, I didn't learn that at school. I didn't learn that in my previous job. I learned that in my MBA class, and I have to say that took me to not to the next level, but to maybe 5 levels up, and have that opportunity to discuss with my professors and ask my colleagues and go back to work actually. And I spend time with other professionals in my company and understand what that means. I don't need to be a lawyer to learn law, because if you don't know compliance, if working in finance or marketing or financial services, it can be a career staller. So that helped me to expand my potential as a professional in the company. Another class that was very, very relevant to me in the MBA class professionally was the sustainability and the social corporate responsibility. And in Harvard, we've done a course on how can businesses do well by doing good. And my business cases, but in NIU MBA class, I was able to understand what does that mean and how can I do it. What do I mean by that? It's not just an Excel sheet that we work on. It's not just a PowerPoint. It's not just, but how smart we are, but the impact we make on the shareholders. You heard Professor Zhao talking about the investments or external stakeholder, internal stakeholders. Some of them in the world we live talk about sustainability, energy, renewable energy, which is a big thing in Germany as being a German company, and the US. There is a change by 2030 for transportation, for vehicles, for supply chain, for the product costing that is going to happen. So this is like, doesn't happen in vacuum or isolation. So in the MBA class, really spending a year or 2 years of my life being exposed to those discussions just make me think different and have more knowledge and references and research and network to go back and ask questions.
Great. Thank you so much. Can you tell us what is it to be a CFO?
Make the most mistakes than anybody else. Let me start from that. And be the value to the entire organization. It's not about being the smartest or the most competent. That's given, because when you're a CFO, you don't need to prove yourself to anybody. And that comes from confidence and experience and practice. And if all of us today at our stage of our career, we don't have that room to make decisions, learn about ourselves and discover about self, then we will not understand our potential. And so what does it take to be a CFO is one thing is leadership. And leadership comes in different facets. It comes as thought leadership. How do we articulate our thoughts? How do we make the complex simple? How we drive actions? How do we allocate resources? How do we use resources? Whether these are financial resources or investment choices, like the Professor Zhao said, or people, or managing our team. And that doesn't come unless we have knowledge and experience, and not 1 year experience repeated 10 times in 10 years, but hopefully 10 unique experiences. And being a CFO means super high level of credibility. And it's a high responsibility too, because you have the custodianship of the assets of the company, of the investments of the company and the future. But at the same time, you have the co-pilot that help drive the campus of what's the next choices of investments, choices, promotions, organization structures, strategies. So I would summarize that into words: being a great custodian and a co-pilot, and build those capabilities in the organization.
Thank you. So you mentioned that you always wanted to become an executive, right? That was your drive in terms of career. What does it take for a mid-career professional? What kind of skills, experiences, knowledge they need to gather so they can be on the path to become a C-suite executive, CFO, CEO, CEO? What are these qualities they should be working on getting?
Yes, there are functional and professional qualities, and there is personal qualities. Two personal qualities are very important, which is being humble and confident. I was the guy when I was young until today, still asked all the stupid questions in the room that nobody dared to ask. I don't feel shy to ask the simple question. I don't feel shy to say I don't know. Can you tell me more? So being inquisitive and inquiring during the career, especially in the mid-year, ask a question, look for mentors, look for a good example in your organization or outside, be close to them, see what they've done, and decide for yourself which one that fits you most. Professionally and functionally, you make sure you're the best in your job today. Don't accept an opportunity because it's an opportunity. It's a higher pay. Don't look for a promotion if you're not for it. If you are the best in your job today and you're the talent in your job today, the opportunity comes to you. Trust me, it comes to you. So if I want to do my job, if I do my job today, I want to be the best. I want to be the best. That's my aspiration. Not just as a functional pillar or a performer only, but I want to be the best from collaboration, results, respect, and credibility. That takes you far very quickly. And if you can't do that, and it's a challenge, it's not straightforward. It's easy to say what I said now. It's very difficult, especially if the line manager that I used to work for sometimes is not the person who developed people. How many times you meet that? That happens all the time. It's your job. It's your job to do that. Don't make an obstacle of a line manager above you to prevent you from doing this. Or a colleague who has more network and a connection that has more opportunity or exposure or more projects. We all be in this. And by the way, that doesn't change in the future. That's life. But make sure you take the opportunity. Don't give up. Winners are not the one who wins every day. Winners are the one who never give up and always fall and stand. Being an executive, Annie, and I don't want to lecture anybody. I'm sure we have great potential and talent here in the room today. I give the commencement speech of the University of Wisconsin, and I told them all my life when I was young, I was just looking for an opportunity to make a mistake, to learn. Make sure you have enough opportunities, and if you don't, then you're in the wrong place. Then this is the choices that you need to evaluate. If the job you have today, you don't have the passion, you don't have the learning. Sometimes it's not easy as well for us because we have families and we have commitments, and of course, that's the force number one. It doesn't mean that you make a violent decision like I'll change my job tomorrow. But the MBA definitely can be an opportunity to reflect and see what's best next for you.
Great. You mentioned about AI and digitization, and I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions in that direction. So how is digitization and AI going to impact the future of your work, your industry, and what people should prepare for? You mentioned that nobody taught AI at school. I mean, at the moment also it's self-taught for most of the people. So tell us your opinion, your vision of what and how to succeed in the world of digitization and AI.
Of course. And by the way, AI is the buzzword now, and it's not going to be for long because quantum technology coming after that. So anyway, it's going to be the same forever. We are in an evolving world and economy and technologies and business models. And even after COVID, that changes too. So I want to start with a real life example. So today we have forklifts that doesn't have drivers, that moves scientifically, delivering supply chain value, timing, volumes, locations, managing first in, first out, and no human interactions. That's something 8 years old now. We have 100,000 pallets, highest, biggest in Europe, in Germany today, that has no person inside. They manage raw materials, finished goods, do the rotation, do the invoicing. Is the technology the right choice and the right thing to do? Absolutely not, because if you want to do customer service and you have innovation and have seasonal business, you want agility and you want people. So you always have a choice of how much you invest in technology and how much you invest in people. And in any business model, you have both. So we don't need to compare between automation and non-automation. Automation adds value where it's relevant to your business or your industry. When we talk about AI, there is different application of AI. For example, when we talk about machine learnings, big data, we have our data from Walmart every day about what consumers in every state, in Texas, in Florida, yesterday, what they sold. Upstream value chain, we buy raw materials every day. How do we integrate with our customers? How do we understand our consumer? What does that mean to production? How much money did we make? What are we launching? So there is not only machine learning in manufacturing, but outside of the box of manufacturing, there is predictive analytics. COVID and after COVID, market research, brand attributes, market shares. We have so much data these days, and we're going to have much more in the future. Preparing ourselves as professional and not looking at ourselves like a marketing director or an HR director. People will lose relevance and potential if they don't understand they are business managers before they become functional managers. They need to think as business managers and drive results as functional experts. That's different. So it's changing. Before, everybody used to be in a function or a department. That's my job. I have a team. That's what I do. It's changing because your question, and I want to close with that. Everybody has to be having a high level of business acumen, clear thought process, looking at the topics and data from different perspectives, so they can be successful as functional leaders.
Great. And I think at this point, I will open the floor for all the participants and see whether there are any questions. I don't see Q&As here, no questions on the chat. But at this point, is there any questions, guys? Anyone from the participants? We have 17 attendees today. Please either write your question in the Q&A box, or Martina will give you the floor. I'll give a minute for people to think about. And maybe in the meantime, while Martina, do we have anyone? Do we have any questions?
Hello again. I'm not seeing any questions right now. Maybe we have a little shy audience right now, but yes, please feel free if you have anything that you want to share or to ask. Yeah.
Okay. I have one question here from Christian Kostadinov. And the question is, what is the one thing you took from your MBA that launched you to your current role?
Great question. I will answer the one thing. I'll answer the first thing. In our supply chain class, our professor introduced a model for us about how we can plan for inventory and evaluate our transactions. And he did that on an Excel sheet, and it was hands-on exercise that we all did together. I joined my MBA class when I was already having 16 years of experience. It was impressive. And my colleagues in the class and what they've done with it, and me seeing how everybody did it. I took that before I even finished my MBA class. So there are examples that can be super beneficial for our work during the MBA class that we can take very quickly. It's like quick wins of learnings. If I would answer what's the one big thing I took from the MBA class in terms of application, and I used it for my work, is that today I have in my team data scientists. So we had an IT class and we had a finance class. So you heard about Dr. Zhao talking about the investments and the ROI and the working capital and the interest rate. So we have treasury. In the treasury functions, there is a lot of cash flow investments and one of our challenge was the data. So that was a job I created in my team, a person who works on the integrity of the data and taking a lot of the learnings from the EMBA class. And can't tell you how big that is. And we just talked a minute ago about AI and what's the future of that. That great question. Thank you.
Great. So I have one question here. I'm just going to interpret a little bit. Let me I'll qualify on the first, and let's start with the second question, which is, when you're hiring, what makes a candidate stand out? That's a great question also.
That's a great question. So we use not only Haribo, but even at Mars and Wrigley, P&G, Nestle, that's the industry I've been in, working with Walmart and Carrefour, big retailers, or even automotive like BMW, Mercedes. Every company has a competency model. So we look at people it depends on the role of the organization first, but I'm going to give you an example of what are the dimensions. One is strategic agility, and you can apply that to the different level of the organization. Second is dealing with ambiguity, the ability to deal and function during ambiguity or unclear situations. If a person is a leader or a line manager, that's a must. 3, the ability to drive results. 4, build collaborative relationship and work function within teams. And the last and the most important thing is engaging and developing others. So these are the criteria we look at the interviews. And those criteria definitely way different at the different level of the organization. We have always I lead HR, by the way. So we hire management team members, GMs. You always say we hire for attitude as well. You can teach people what to do, but you can't teach people how to think, if that makes sense.
Great. We have 2 more questions. Okay, how do you evaluate for ability to deal with ambiguity, I guess, during an interview?
Absolutely. There is an architecture of interview questions that we use. One of them is if the candidate is able to demonstrate a standalone capability of managing a project or a challenge on their own without support, that would be a great example of the candidate giving examples of that person is able to develops himself, self-learn, navigate a complex challenge on their own. So that would be great examples of dealing with ambiguities. That's a question. The second question is, but that's for work and deliverables. Dealing with ambiguity sometimes can be about the communication or the understanding, or maybe working without enough information. So there is a skill called informing. Too much is not good. Too little is not good. So when we ask the question during the interview, we learn from people, how do they communicate and understand the sufficient and the right question. I hope that's a little bit give a feel about the 2 specific questions.
Next question from Krasimir Dimitrov. He's asking, do you believe that the MBA class you had studied met your initial expectation? And give your advice of how to choose the right MBA program.
Mr. Dimitrov, it's a great question, by the way. I had exactly that question before. I can assure you, not like all the classes. Sorry, Dr. Zhao. So not gonna sell that, because we all humans, right? Like we have passion for certain topics than another. So, but there is no specific class that I would say not good. It just depends the profession. The other part of the question is which MBA program to choose, which is great. I can assure you that at Mars, I hired maybe 56 associates from top 10 schools in the world. You name them. Harvard, MIT. I was one of the people at Mars that used to go there and hire the MBA actually candidates. And I can tell you I'm the same one who fired 9 of them. And we hired as well from other schools. regional schools in the US and other schools. So the name of the MBA program in terms of education and quality does not mean anything other than the resume. Seriously, the quality of the program itself is more important. I chose the NIU MBA because of the convenience. I attended meetings like this. I inquired who will be in the program more because the colleagues are very important. And the more diversity from different experience and different level of the organization, the richer it is. It's not just because of companies paying for the MBA class in a big name. The name, of course, help on the resume, but after you get the MBA, really, it doesn't make a difference. It's either you're good or not. If you're an executive, or you're a senior person in the organization, they will not hire you because of the MBA has X names. I know this is how it works sometimes and how we think, but the more you grow in the organization, that's not how executive being hired. Because I have in my team people have MBA and higher education in institutions and more degrees than me. Why they are not the CEOs?
Good.
I'm picturing a little bit of the previous question. I teach in an MBA program, and I went through my own MBA program way back when. My sense is that, as the Saber says, you're not going to like all the classes, right? I developed a passion for finance, and I pursued a finance career. Now, one thing great about MBA program is that it forces you to take different classes. It broadens your perspective. I have colleagues who just did a PhD in finance. They don't have a whole lot of background in marketing or strategies or other areas. I do. It makes me a little bit better research, okay, because I have a broader perspective. Even though when I went through my MBA program, I absolutely hate marketing. I really, really hate marketing. But now I'm looking back, saying, wow, you know what? My understanding of marketing actually helps me understand finance. So that is a nice thing about doing MBA versus doing a master specifically in, let's say, marketing or finance. It kind of broadens your perspective of how a company is run and different functions of the organization, stuff like that. So that's kind of my take on that question.
No, great. Thank you for this addition. It's very important to understand that in our jobs and generally in our lives, we don't do everything that only the things we like. It would have been ideal scenario, but no, we don't. And sometimes you never know, things that maybe not favorite you can develop in them. I mean, Wes, your example was you couldn't write, right? Your writing was really not good, and then you were working in marketing. So you never know. And what you're good in changes over the years as you acquire more knowledge, more experience, etc. Let's finish with one last question from Christian Kostadinov. So he's asking, you mentioned that you're running the HR department in your company. Do you think an MBA is something beneficial for a recruiter and people that would like to develop in HR?
Absolutely. We hired in the US, in the state of Wisconsin, 80 people the past 12 weeks, 180 people in the last 9 months. If you're working in an organization that's growing or building talent, it's at the forefront. HR is the #1 function. Sorry for anybody to say anything. So during the MBA class, I figured out, I learned a lot about HR, but I figured out I can't be the best one in HR. So I hired the best people in HR. I give them all the resources that I need. And the systems and the analytics in HR that comes like success factors and SAP, there is a technology piece of HR, which is super important. There is a very important piece around succession planning and models that you use, and there are different models in the world. HR follows strategy like finance, right? There is a strategy and vision and mission of a company, and the organization structure and the leadership and the development and the journey of the organization follow the strategy. So building strategic knowledge and exposure just makes HR is super powerful. I know some of HR people, this is a great question, by the way, and some of them may not realize that, but they can be very lethal and strong with business acumen. So yes, yes, yes.
Absolutely. I absolutely sign with two hands what Wes said, because when I was in my CEO job, one of the best partners was the head of HR. It was, and especially somebody who really had something to say in business discussions, and that's invaluable because they help you with the most precious resource, the people, at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, yeah, we talk about AI, computers, this and that, but at the end of the day, it's people to people, person to person. That's how everything goes in life and in business. And with that, on that note, I just want to thank Wes Saber and Leizu and all the participants. Thank you so much. This was really interesting. I hope for all the participants, you got the answers of your questions. If you have any more questions, please connect with me, send any questions, queries you have. I'll make sure that we'll answer them all. Thank you very much, and have a good evening for those in Bulgaria and on the Balkans. And for those in the US, have a great day.
Good luck,
Thanks,
everyone.
Annie.
Thanks,
Ms. Saber. And I hope to see all you guys in Bulgaria, in Sofia, in February.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
Thank you, Martina.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Martina.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.